Hello and welcome to another video back in our normal Wednesday night recording slot. Last week we did the recording on Monday and completely messed it up. If you watched the video, you would have seen me talking for about 20 minutes to something that wasn't on the screen, making even less sense than normal, probably. So yeah, I blame I mean, I could blame myself, but that's never going to happen. So changing the days completely threw me off. Obviously, blame Jamie. He lets amateurs on his channel, so these things are bound to happen. um, I've changed my setup a little bit. Hopefully, I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I will be more thorough in checking the video before we send it on to upload it. So hopefully that won't happen again. And hopefully last week wasn't too bad. It still kind of made sense. And yeah, so sorry about that, but we move on as we do with our fantasy teams. There's a segue and a half. We make plenty of mistakes here, and we plow on. Another round seven. Let's have a look at round seven. Yeah, decent week. Just under 1,000. That seemed to be par almost. And we're slowly but surely chugging up through these ranks, from round three when we had the Cleary captain disaster. We've gone 43,000, 32,000, 24, 21, 17. So we're creeping up there. We're getting there. We're getting there. We've just missed that one big week. That one where some of the pods or the less owned players that I've got just, haven't quite just had that big week that some other ones have. And, if that happens this week, that'd be nice. It'd be really great to get, if we can keep getting these 3K a week, get into the origin period in the top 10,000, hopefully should be able to do. Um, and then make the most of that period and fire up from there. That's the plan. Um, Quick summary of last week. I mean, again, not having Haas. This is like the first week that not having Haas probably hurt a little bit, but you know, 70 odd when, we made that decision 4 weeks ago. He was priced at 71, average 60 since then. In general, I still agree with the decision to not bring him in. The problem has been the people that we left in the team to not get him in just haven't really done it, Cam Munster, etc. Cam Munster. Like, I am convinced I'd put a lot of money on at some point this year, he's going to score like 70, 80 plus, probably multiple times. And I want to own him when he does it, but yeah, no, he could well be leaving my team this week. I haven't sorted out my trades yet, but yeah, it's been hard. It's been a hard hold, and he was always going to leave over the origin period, so yeah, it's probably maybe about time to cut the cord early. In terms of my trades last week, let's actually have a look at them because, like a lot of people, there was a fair bit of interest. Interesting things happened. Dave Fafita was almost certainly coming in, and then obviously his injury or very very light injury that he's back this week. Who paid to that? Harry Grant's injury meant that he ended up leaving the team as well. And I did actually want to make a point on this because I messed this up. I messed this up last week, but got away with it in terms of I didn't order my trades in a way that made sense. Originally, once the Fafita news came out, I changed Fafita to Preston, and I went, okay, two trades. I'll make two trades this week: Preston and Savala. Safe Arthur Metcalf out. Originally, it was going to be Howarth until I made this secondary trade, and yeah, getting rid of Howarth would have a week early certainly would have been helpful. But I needed the extra money to make the third trade happen. But when I made the third trade happen, I just left them in that order and didn't really think about it. when what I should have done is made sure that these trades are happening in the order or as close to the order where the teams are playing as we can. Because what happened, I saw a post in the like in the private group chat. I assume it was nonsense and nobody took it seriously. It was that Nico Hines was seen wearing a moon boot walking around Cronulla and like obviously, I mean, even if he was, I don't know, maybe that's his fashion. Who knows? Um, Obviously didn't affect the game in any way. But when I saw that and I looked back and went, oh, can I, if this is a thing, can I reverse my trades? And I couldn't. What I should have done is put Metcalf to Savala in the first set or happening first because I need, raise the money. Grant to Preston because they both played early in the week. And then Seyfarth to Hines because they both played later in the week. And so what that would have meant is by the time I saw this Hines news, my Preston Grant and Savala Metcalf trades might still have been locked in, but I could still reverse Seyfarth to Hines and keep Seyfarth or make another trade and make a decision on that point. But because I'd done what I'd done with this order, if Hines didn't play, I was screwed because Grant had already been locked out. I couldn't reverse things. So just a point to remember, and it's like 9 times out of 10, more than that, probably, these things don't matter. It's like, putting your captaincy in the right, putting captaincy in people in the early games and things like that. Majority of the time, it doesn't matter, but there could well be an opportunity. There'll be a time where it does. And those are the ones that really screw you over. So, especially when we get into making 3 trades or 4 trades, don't think of them as a bulk, like I'm trading out these guys for those guys. Do it in stages. Do this guy to that guy, this guy to that guy, that guy to that guy. Look up try and get the team. It's sometimes it's, there's nothing we can do about it, right? You're trading out guys in the first game for guys in the bringing in guys in the late games. Sometimes you can't, there's no way around it, but if they're it's always worth thinking about and just that one week could save you 50 points um if you do things correctly. So those are my trades and the trade-ins worked. Preston 69, nice. Hines 56, yeah, fine. I mean, those 7 missed tackles were a killer. uh but that's all right. And then Savala, he's just going to churn away, make some money. Basement price starting half. If you don't have him, get him. What more do you want? And yeah, other than that, very kind of similar story to a lot of other teams. Latrell, I'm very happy he's back at fullback this week. This is kind of what we wanted when we got him. Yes, it's a hard matchup this week, but between now and Origin, I'm hoping. Again, this is the point, right? I'm trying to make ranks here, so I have to go for risky plays. And Latrell was a risky play, but he's going to be a big pod now for the next few weeks because I don't think people can really bring him in the lead up to Origin. Might not even be able to get him over Origin. So if he goes big, like if he goes into that, beast mode, Latrell from fullback, he could be a huge thing for me getting up there. Kind of why I brought in Hines as well. Number one, for the Origin cover as well. He's plays round 12, very important. But if you're comparing, and people kind of asked this question a lot last week and might still be asking this week, Hines or Fogarty, and I want the upside. Like I want the risk. I want to take on that risk to try and get me up these ranks. So Fogarty would probably get, he'll get you 56 every week, give or take, regardless. Hines, we want that attacking upside, or I want that attacking upside. I'll take 40s with the upside of 70s and 80s to try, over the next little while to try and get me back into some kind of respectability. So a lot of the trades I'm making now or decisions I'm making are either origin based, but they're also upside based. So I'll take some risks. Some of them may work, some of them may not. This week, oh yeah, I'll get into this week's trades, but I just want to talk about Greg as well. Legend, Greg the leg end, 88 points, awesome. I've seen a lot of people bringing him in now this week, which I totally understand. Wing fullback over Origin is tricky. The only thing I'd say to people bringing in Marju is, would you have been happy bringing him in last week before this 88? Because I don't. Yeah, it's nice to see the Knights score points, but like nothing's really changed to me for Greg Marju. Like he's going to have these explosion games. He scored a try. He got about 1 million points off one run, 100 tackle breaks and an offload and a try assist and line break and everything else in there. Like obviously that's not going to happen every week. And he's coming off a 20 odd, 30 odd, 30 odd. If you weren't looking at him last week, you didn't weren't interested, and then this week you saw the 88 and now you're jumping on. Like I don't know if I can really recommend that. That's just kind of chasing the points because he might go back to 30s again. Like that's just who he is as a player. You'll have these big games, you'll have these low games, and if you're happy with that, if you're like, yep, I've seen his profile, I've seen how he's scoring, and I'm happy to take that on, then great, go for it. But don't just see the 88 and think, oh, the Knights have turned the corner and he's going to be a gun from now on. I hope he is, but you have to look at those last few weeks and just go, yeah, like if he gets a 30 this week, are you going to be pissed off? And if you are, then yeah, he might not be the guy to bring in. Yeah, so trades this week. I've got no idea what to do, to be honest. Um, the one guy that I've been wanting for the last couple of weeks is Aaron Clark. Those minutes on the weekend were great. It was like, okay, I mean, he's not good. I don't think if you get 60 minutes every week, amazing. He probably won't. If he gets 50 to 55 minutes, I think it's still value. So the trades, I mean, I could go straight from Munster to him. The major trade I have is Howarth, with that injury, and there's just nobody in that price range that I want. With having brought Zavala in last week, that under 400k or 460 odd k kind of price range that stands out to me. Like I'm trying to talk myself into the likes of Cobo and who else, like Jazz Tavanga and Jaden Sullivan, like all these guys. It's like, oh, can it work? Like, yeah, I'm happy to take a risk. I'm happy to take a risk. Can I do it? Uh, Nothing really stands out. Nwanga Nitawase is up is an option. I can just get him. Um, yeah, like I'm not again at his price on the wing. I'm not completely convinced, but he does. Obviously Roosters good origin cover. I don't have the round 10 Roosters buy problems a lot of people have. I've only got Savala and Toya, so um, I could do Mark. That's probably the favorite at the moment, or I mean, I could just hold and see if any other cheapies, someone else pops up next week. Like you don't want to make a trade just for the sake of making a trade, but it does give me more options other than playing, a Jenkins, etc. So the unfortunate thing is the Roosters play so early in the week. I would have loved to have, say, seen Jenkins play and then make a call on whether or not I needed to bring someone in to play over him. If Jenkins went well, then I could just leave it as is. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I have plenty time to think about it. But yeah, we might be looking at say Munster to Clark and um Howarth to Mark. Like they don't. It just doesn't. They're just not. They're not sexy picks, and they don't seem exciting. But might be what's on the cards. Um, I want to bring up now. Let's fingers crossed this is working. This is what I was talking about last week when I was just waffling on to the wrong screen about my buy planning. And so here's my screen. I think I've showed this on a couple of videos before, just a very basic scenario of what to do. And then looking at my team, and I kind of update this every week just to show. um, what I have now and what that looks like for those bye weeks. So as it stands, I have 11 players that play round 12, but I have a bonus, like an extra guy with Katonga. So as it stands, I would have 14. If I filled in the rest of my team, I'd have an extra one, which like I is fine. Like you don't want to have a lot of extra guys in round 12. Like you don't want to have, three gun edges round 12. Like, well, what's the point in that? But if you end up with these cheapy guys, like is Katonga still going to be around round 12 after last week? Like, who knows? Um, Before last week, I would have said, yeah, we probably keep him, like, yeah, 4 weeks, another 4 weeks of him is fine. And then he drops a 16. So is he going to be on the chopping block? Quite possibly. Um, but this gives kind of flexibility, right? I mean, I don't have to keep him. I'm not going to be in the position where, and this is another thing for me. If I brought Mark in, like Mark in for Howarth, that'd be another number in round 12. And then that means if I get, another couple of weeks, I'm not left hanging on to like a Jenkins if I don't want to, a Katonga if I don't want to. And even if I do hold on to them, then I can loop. Like even though we only play the 13 guys, you can still loop if you put the guys on a buy into your starting lineup, and then it'll still look to the bench for replacements. So you can still loop in round 12. So having an extra couple of guys could be useful. And again, just being in this position, coming to round 11, 12, and just having options, having flexibilities, being able to sell Jenkins for a non-playing guy, Katonga for a non-playing guy, and knowing I've got coverage is useful. And the big hole that I have and almost everyone has is the hookers and the mids, which is why obviously Clark is very tempting, very tempting this week to cover either or, depending on how things go. Because as it stands with Horse, I'm counting him, but it's a soft count because if he makes Origin, I'm completely, bare. No mids, no hooker, not great. So just getting people in over the next couple of weeks, filling up these things so that we're not panicking to be having to make max trades round 11, max trades round 12. The other thing is like with trades is I think from last year, the first buy round, first major buy round is when we got four trades. But because it's a week earlier, we still only have three trades for round 12, if I've read the rules properly. Um, so if I'm in this position coming into round 12, I'm screwed, right? I can make three trades. Horse makes Origin. We've got injuries. I think we've been last week was a little sliver of the carnage that we had last year. Like it felt like every other week last year, people were just, falling to bits, falling over, injuries everywhere, suspensions everywhere. We've been very, very lucky this year, and um, there could be more problems with that, right? Like we just need another week like this where you think you're sorted and Fafita injured at training, Campbell injured at training, Grant injured at training. These late outs when we think we're prepared, or if you come into round 12 and be like, okay, I only need to make two trades to get my 13, and then you get two, three injuries out of your, 11 that you've got, you're screwed. So, I like to kind of have hopefully coming into round 11, and that's where, the round 11 buy, the Panthers buy, you know, earmarking, say, Yo and Cleary for trade outs that week. You know, don't like trading out these guys, but that could be your way to fulfilling, a um, gun mid position for round 12. And then the question becomes if you do trade them out, and then, or who else do you have? Can you hold May and Haas? other guys, and then, if you do, or if you do sell them, when do you bring them back? And this is where I think if we're able to kind of be quite efficient with our trades over this, because a lot of people are, kind of max trading, blasting through them, and then thinking, well, I don't have to trade much over Origin because we'll have these teams. So like round 13, you know, I think I'm missing, two guys at the moment. Um, so, I don't need to do anything really. Like I can play 13, but I'm not going to have Yo and Cleary. And yeah, they're backing up, but they normally do back up, and they'll normally still score well. Round 14, I'm not going to have your Cleary. So if we have trades, if you've got those trades in the bank, you can be really kind of strategic around this period and be like, okay, I'll sell Yo and Cleary round 11, 12, and then maybe I can bring them back for that period. So, or some of the period, right? Maybe you bring them back and then you carry them through again or trade them out again. Like maybe we just make these weekly in-out trades that normally would feel like a waste, but if you've got them, use them. And this could be, a real opportunity to kind of make up these ranks if other people are just going through the Origin, holding, selling some of these guys, and then go, I'll get them back after Origin, like we normally do, the kind of normal strategy. If you're able to get them back in between and make up for having gun 13s rather than just gun 17s rather than just playing 13 and 17, which and again in previous years, if you were just playing, if you got a team out every week during this period, you're going to do well, you're going to make ranks. Not sure it's going to be quite that easy this year. So yeah, having these extra trades, I think, is going to be kind of really useful over this period to make a push. Um, the other list thing that I tried to show last week was just a list of who we're targeting. So I've got the list of everybody who's averaging. Like if you want guns in, so here's a list of everybody who's averaging 45 and over as a cutoff point. Is 45 a gun? Nah, but some of the lists would have been pretty short if we cut the cutoff, the average cutoff higher. So, hookers, not a whole lot of options. This is the issue that we've got is that when we look at who's available, it's like, okay, these guys are on a buy. Watson will probably play Origin, and then you're into Egan, Brayley, Marshall King, Plath. Now, Plath, that really low score means that his price is going to come down a fair bit over the next couple of weeks. So he's somebody kind of got an eye on. And there's, Clark, Tommy Starling's kind of fallen away a bit in minutes if there are people still hold him. But this is where you kind of look at that and go, "Ugh," like, there's not a huge amount of options in there, really, is there? And not a whole lot of value. Like that's my big problem this week. Kind of making decisions hard is a lot of the guys that we're looking at feel kind of, capped, if not capped at their price, like just really expensive for what we're buying. So it's generally the type of people that I'm kind of not keen on getting in, but like there's not a lot of choices like in the matter. Like I brought Preston in last week. Now he's gone up a little bit. He was priced at 55 or so. Again, that's quite expensive. Well, that's very expensive. He's probably going to be a high 50s guy, but still, like that's what you're paying for. So we're kind of having to do that, having to get these guys in that are um priced up and yeah. Like normally we like to wait until some of them come down. This doesn't seem to be possible this year, especially in the wing fullbacks. Like a lot of people. So I've got here, like average and what they're priced at. So this is just a calculated price stat. I think it's close enough just to give an idea. And we know what it instantly shows you is just kind of like how the game works. We've played 7, 8, well, we've played 7 rounds. Most teams will have played 6. And you can see how a lot of pretty much everybody's just normalized towards their price and their average. So we're not really comparing like average to price. but it's more just looking at the price and being like, is that a good price for them? What do I think they'll score? How will they go, etc. Fletcher Sharp, he's really, really popular this week. I just think he's a guy that I'm going to miss out on all year and then make my mind up about him going forward because I still kind of look at him and be like, is he a 50 plus guy? Like really? Um, relying on kind of tackles and run meters. He's got this like middle forward kind of base to him or, scoring profile and then be like, he'll make his tackles, he'll make his runs, and then, we hope for some attack. And he's obviously been doing it. Like that's the thing. And is it sustainable? Like, is this 55 average sustainable? Like maybe. Um, it's let's bring him up. It's just such a small sample size in general, right? Like, yeah, he had all the, he played at fullback, he played at wing, but the 5'8", like I wish I'd started with. Like, obviously, if you'd had faith and got him in at 550, that would be awesome. But now he's up at that 650 and, you know, 46 with a try, 62 with is a try and stuff. These games just feel like more, especially with Newcastle not really firing, feel more regular to me. And then yeah, he'll have attack on top of it. Um, so yeah, like I just don't know if I can get on it at 50, but there's just not really any other options. Kiraz, um, I think there's value in Kiraz, but I also think he plays Origin. Um, which, do you want that? Like, do you want to bring somebody in who then you then have to replace in a few weeks or work around in a few weeks? If you want to, like, sure. Um, what can he score? So Jamie asked a question in the group chat of like, do people see him as like a 55 to 60 guy this year? I think that's high. Like maybe a 50 to 55 guy. He was like 51 last year. I had him all of last year. Like he was one of the guys. Him and Grant were my um two holds for the entire year. So he averaged 48 over the whole year, but I believe he averaged a bit higher on the wing. So 51 on the wing. Um, yeah, like can he go a bit better in a better dogs team? Sure. 55 might be okay, but just like any winger, right? He's going to have these games in the 30s. Like he just, he will, and kind of relies on the offloads a bit, especially this year so far. So he's averaging 51 this year, but going at 4.5 offloads to hand. Whereas, last year in that 51, he only had 1.9. So you can be like, well, if he keeps up these offloads, then he has a um, ton of value there, but it's just hard to rely on offloads. I think that's one thing this year that's kind of stood out. Payne Haas is the obvious one where he was absolutely killing it by getting these huge amounts of offloads. And since the offloads have kind of gone away, he's gone back to still possibly the best mid in the game, but not the clear smashing everyone out of the water that he was. And I think it's just hard to rely on offloads. Like I have to kind of think of these as a bonus over and above like what their normal base would be. Because I think yeah, it's just hard to rely on them. Teams might deliberately try and clamp them down, or it's just, it's rain. We've seen games, oh, it's in the rain, so the offloads are down, or just game script doesn't need them to be throwing the ball out the back. If they're winning, like if the dogs are a good team, if they're winning, you don't need their wingers throwing offloads out when they're returning kicks, right? You just need to grind the playback. So yeah, like I think he's like if I didn't think he would play Origin, I would buy him, I think. But yeah, just having that overhanging it kind of seems a bit hard. And I did just want to talk about the offload thing as well, because it just stood out to me a few times this year where, you know, it follows what I talked about before around chasing points. And big games come from either scoring tries or big amounts of offloads. And it's just really hard to replicate, yeah, I don't want to call it too early, but like Sua Wong had that really big game and then has kind of come back to the pack a bit. Not just through offloads, but just in general, he's another one of these guys that I wish I'd got on early, didn't. But then I've seen a lot of people jump on, after he got that 80 odd and, he's up to being priced at like 45. And now I see people worried about him, like, oh, can I carry him through? So they're really like, I think it's because, we've got hundreds of people in the group chat and you see, obviously don't fall kind of know who everybody is. So you just see, comments and things about this guy's a great buy, and then a week later he's a sell. Like I'm sure I saw Marju getting sold last week, and now everyone's bringing him in. Um, like the opinions change really quickly, and I try not to I try not to kind of let myself be swayed too quickly and in the odd game. Um, and it's a big thing for me of a strategy to try not to get people who I think are kind of priced up. And I'll touch on Couchman as well. He's another one where like he's killing, like he's awesome. I wish I had him, but can I justify paying 750 grand, like a 56 price for him? And like maybe again, if he continues to do what he's been doing and is a 60 plus guy for the rest of the year, then he's a great buy. But if he kind of again normalizes into like say playing 55 minutes and getting going at a point a minute, then it's just not as at that price, it's just not as not as appealing. And it's hard to know. Like it's an absolute judgment call about where you draw the line. Um, and yeah, so I think he's on that borderline. Like you can still get like I see people bringing him in, and you absolutely can still bring him in. If he didn't play if he played round 12, I think he'd be an easier buy because it doesn't solve that problem of we have no mids for round 12, so you might be bringing him in and then having it, selling another gun. Like if you have him and Haas and May and yeah, you can sell, like who are you selling? And plus three other mids that you have to bring in for round 12, then like who are you selling for round 13, when you've got all these guns sitting on your bench and going forward. So yeah, you can bring him in, he's tough at that price. Um like the minutes, I mean the one thing I think I'll definitely take out of this year is just how impossible it is to like judge minutes for players. You said it all year for the likes of White and Wong. When the Roosters pack gets fit and there's no injuries, we'll wait and see what the minutes look like, and then just it just doesn't happen. Like okay, they're getting fully fit. Oh, Matt Butcher's missed, out after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it was, and the Dragons game at the weekend. Couchman plays the first 20 odd minutes, then there's a ton of head knocks. Um, Hamish Stewart's out, and then I think the thing that made the big difference for Couchman was Damien Cook went off for an HIA with 20 seconds left in the first half or something. Basically just giving them a free interchange, and they brought him back on, for yeah seconds. Barely saw him, but it's like, oh, Couchman's back on, great, because obviously I was kind of death riding him a little bit. Um, and then he just played the whole second half. So, would he have come on at halftime normally? I don't think so. But having that free interchange meant that, oh, well, yeah, we'll just throw him on and, he's got such a motor on him, he can play the whole second half and it's fine. So, in a normal, if they don't have those head knocks, does he just play 55 and that 80 odd becomes a, 60 something? Who knows? Um, so yeah, and this is yeah, like I said, this is a problem I have with so many of these guys that we're kind of looking to buy. They just all feel so expensive. Um, But I mean, that's the game, right? Like, if you want guns, you have to pay for them. So, um, what I'll definitely need to decide in the next few weeks is, so if I do bring in Clark, that still leaves me at least two, if not three, if Horsburgh plays Origin, or if you get injuries, mid stroke hookers to bring in. So AFB is a target. I don't like the guys who are like, oh, I'll bring them in. They might play Origin, they might not. I like AFB. I'm hoping this quad injury, maybe for the next couple of weeks, slows him down, loses a little bit of cash, and then he's fighting fit for around 12. We can get him in. That'd be nice. Tapane, yeah, he's just so expensive for somebody that can give you a 40 on any given week. Max King, yeah, 55 again, just feels so expensive for him, right? Like, it's hard. It's hard, but we're gonna have to pick some of these guys. The other hooker option that I was actually like, before I remembered that the Eels were on a bye, my cheap option for Howarth um was going to be Riley Smith. Just again, give me that option over um, if hopefully he keeps playing 80 minutes, slow burn cash, hopefully he can get up to scoring some 40s. Just make a bit of cash and be there for 12. And then if I do bring in Clark, he can slip into the mids for a week. Just given that flexibility. But, again, they're on the bye, so can't really do it this week. Um, you know, do I hold off on that Howarth trade next week when he's back? Maybe. I don't know. I'll think about that. But it's just, one of the few kind of cheapy options we have, and that'd be a great thing to come up here. And there will be guys that come in over Origin. Like I think last year, like Xavier Willison, for memory, I didn't have him, but for memory, he was like a good hold over Origin with when Haas and Carrigan were out. So, hopefully we get some good cheapies who we can, again, even if we're not playing them, give a bit of flexibility. If we have to play them a week and they get us a 30 odd or something, it's still there, rather than, because another option, and I haven't talked about it too much, but another option is just play short in some weeks. Like in some instances, it's better to just play with 12 than force a trade that you don't want for a guy that doesn't pay off. And yeah, you've got yourself an extra 30 odd points or something, but you've wasted trades to get there. So you could, like, if none of these hookers look appealing, like it's not the end of the world to play with a guy short. I did that last year with when I had the Teddy debacle. For those that remember that, when Edwards was named at fullback for game one, everybody brought Teddy in. A lot of people captained him that week. I captained him that week. And then on the, Sunday morning, or I think Saturday night, I think the Roosters played on the Sunday. Saturday night, there were rumors of Edwards had hurt himself. And then come Sunday, it was confirmed and he was out. And Teddy was locked in as a trade because of the captain, couldn't reverse it. And I was playing 12. And, I had the option of I could force a trade to get 13 out. I think bringing in Joey Manu was, Manu moved back to fullback that game. And it's like, well, I could get him in, but I'd have to sell somebody I wasn't really wanting to sell. I didn't, Manu was, again, he was quite expensive at the time. And yeah, he'd probably score well that game. But then he just goes back to the center. And do I want him when he's playing center? Not really. So I ended up just, not making the trade, playing 12. And, it still came out fine, finishing just outside the top 100. So in some instances, it's fine to do that. But like I was talking about earlier, if I, had these kind of options and this flexibility, then it would have saved me, that pain in general. But yeah, something to consider. Like don't force things don't force bad trades for the sake of it, I guess is what we're saying. Anyone else here that really kind of stands out? KPP I see being really popular. Yeah, you can get on him. Lucas. Yeah, I think there's a very good chance I get Lucas in at some point. It's just hard after his the hammy, easy to give it a week. Does he play, um, 80 minutes this week? Maybe not. Like they, yeah, want to ease him back into it. So I think it's an easy wait this week, but definitely a good buy-in. I could bring in Thomas Can. I think he's an easy hold this week just to see what happens with these bench minutes. Like if he ends up playing 20 minutes on the edge or something to cover for Lucas, then you can sell him. But chat seems to be that, he's a lock. They want to use him at lock. And if he plays 50 odd minutes there, then he's still probably got some value in him. So I'd wait and see with Cam. You can easily sell after this week if it doesn't look good. Um, yeah, Farnworth again. God, he's expensive, but he's, amazing. So again, if you want to pay 57 for a cent, 50, I'll buy a 57 priced center. Like he's the one, he's the one to do it with. But again, it's just so expensive. But if he keeps it up, if he keeps averaging 60, then it's fine. But it's hard. It's hard to do. Okay, let's quickly kind of have a run through some questions before we close. I've gone on long enough as usual. Um, Horse, Munster, Sandon to Sharp Carraz and Aaron Clark. I mean, I think I've talked about everybody here. I mean, Sandon Smith, you can sell. Horse, no, I wouldn't sell until, yeah, his minutes are starting to be worrying. But if he's still scoring as he is, then like I wouldn't sell Horse, Munster either or. Sure, you can sell Smith. Sharp, good, but I'm still not convinced he's not overpriced. Carraz, good, but probably plays Origin. Aaron Clark, good. So make of that what you will. Campbell, Ponga, Toa, Sharp, Carraz, Garrick, sideways. I this year, like I feel so. I mean, obviously they don't care, right? They're professional footballers, but there's this part of me that kind of looks at these guys and goes like, Sarford Toe has been absolutely killing it. He has one, low scoring game, which for a, outside back will happen. And now it's like, oh, I've had enough of him. Like he was, giving you 50s only a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, look, Campbell, sure, sell him. Ponga, to me, he's just a whole like yeah, these are the guys like Ponga's on that list, Hopgood's on that list, where I'm just like, when can I buy them? So if they look like good buys or possible good buys in the near future. And Ponga will obviously play Origin, so you can take that into account. But if you're going Ponga to Karaz, you've got the same Origin um concerns there. Well, I'd say Ponga's not really a concern; it's almost a guarantee. Karaz just a concern, but um yeah, Ponga at like 600k. At some point, I'm going to want to get him, and if I want to get him, then I don't think I can tell people to sell him. Same with Hopgood. Yeah, his minutes suck, but he's still averaging like he's still fairly high up. He's on the list of guns, averaging just under 50. If those minutes go back up to 50 minutes, he rockets up here into those round 12 options. So he's up, I've got big eye on him to bring him in. So I know, and I completely understand why people want to sell him, but it's like, um, yeah, hard one, these ones. Can we trade Watchman to Couchman this week since I was locked in? I don't think Watson's locked in for Origin. Like he doesn't have a big history there, and it is a new coach, so they could decide to, go elsewhere with the utility. Like, people talking about Burton instead of Watson. I think he plays, but who knows? GB replied, what did he say? I would try not to. Yeah, good. Um, yeah, I would just yeah. Like you need to trade Watson soon. So if you want to go early, it's fine. Couchman again, I struggle at the price is my thing. Anything on Leo Thompson? I think I talked about him last week when nobody could understand what I was saying. He dropped off the list. So last week he was on that 45 average, and I believe he has now dropped off. No, there he is. I was looking at the edges. There you go. Sorry. So yeah, look, I mean, again, if he has the minutes thing, if he keeps getting these big minutes, I think there's some value in there. If the minutes drop, then possibly not. But, he's a pod. I don't think there's huge upside in him, but yeah, you could. Oh, we just talked about, there you go, what's in them? 90%. Yeah, I'd maybe say 80, 85. Contrarian as always. Safe after Plath sideways. Plath I'd wait with this injury. Doesn't seem serious, but I think he will lose a little bit of cash. Again, he's priced up at a point where, you know, depending on his minutes, because if he ends up being like this 50-minute block, like do you want to pay 650K for him? Yeah, they are, on the edge. Like I'd wait till he's got a big break even. I don't always like paying attention to break evens, but I think in this instance, wait, see this week, wait until Marshall King comes back, loses a bit of cash, and then again, and I think he also has some Origin kind of concerns as well. But if he doesn't make Origin, and we see that he's getting good minutes with Marshall King back in the team, and he's dropped a bit of cash, if he gets down to around 600K or something, then you know I'd like it. Both having Lucas back will help improve Ponga scores. Yeah, could well do. I hope not. I hope he keeps losing cash, and then I can get him for cheaper. Pronunciations, I completely mess up all the pronunciations. I apologize to anybody who has to listen to me um, uh, say anything, to be honest. The Dewey call, yeah, like I was definitely on the wait a week train when that came out. I thought there was a decent chance Galvin just, it was a 1 week thing and he came back. I would have had it probably under 50% that it happened, but like enough that um I didn't think the risk was doing it. Just Tavanga, yeah. um Tavanga's hilarious. I don't know why. I just find that game of the weekend extremely funny. Like he's done absolutely nothing all year. His PPM's been atrocious, and then just bangs out a 60. And he's named at lock. This is my desperation for a GP this week was like, oh, can it work? Mid hooker cover for round 12. If he can somehow stick that, middle roll and yeah, it could work out. I just don't think he can do it. I think Jake Trbojevic will be back. I saw that was it Toff Sipley suspended for 4 weeks? I don't know if that makes a difference, but if he's just going to be this, hooker, maybe a few minutes in the mid and goes back to this nonsense, it's going to be a terrible buy. But I don't know. When something this pops out and it's like this is the whole chasing the points, right? You try and convince yourself that it's real and that it's going to work and you can make it happen. But yeah, I don't think we can. I don't think we can. Can again, I think you should hold for at least a week. Walsh you can sell, sure. Yeah. Captain Tedesco, that's spicy. Drinkwater, Margie or Sharp. Drinky, haven't spoken. I've spoken on these two. Drinky, yeah, he's on the list. Again, 47. Like it just probably is. Again, you're paying for kind of what he is. I think you'll have some big games. You just kind of hope that you get that good run up front. Like he'll go on a run and then he'll have some quiet games, and you just want to get that run in like early doors, um, to make the trade feel like a good trade. I know the Cowboys have a great buy schedule. So they don't play round 12, but where are they? Where are they? Here we go. They're like clear sailing until the last week of the season. So, after round 12, maybe more of a look at the goal kicking helps. But yeah. He's one I had last year and didn't have a lot of fun watching him, to be honest. But yeah, definitely a good option. I'd maybe wait until after round 12, depending on what round 12. Wing fullbacks are looking like at the moment. Holding JC. I mean, if you can, but yeah, like I said, it's a lot of money to wait for a month. So yeah. You could give it another week and hope that he's taken whatever pills Nikita was taking and his 4 week injury went to nothing immediately. So, if you want to take the risk, take the risk, but you probably need to sell him. Ponga can't White, Marjorie, I mean, same type of stuff. Like, I mean, the Fahu White, who are your round 12 mids? You're selling some to not bring any in, and yeah, I can't I yeah, I wouldn't sell White. To be honest, I wouldn't sell. Like, this is one of these ones where it's like that I could see that being an improvement, like definitely. But is it worth 3 trades to do that? Ponga can get an 80 this week. Like, Ponga to Marju, they're basically the same price. Like, would you put money on Marju averaging more than Ponga for the rest of the season? Like, I wouldn't. I mean, we know what Ponga can do. Yeah, he's gone badly, and like maybe he will continue to do badly. Like, we don't know, but like a Ponga to Marju trade just seems yeah, like no. I wouldn't do it, but I can see why people want to. You want to get off the burning, the sinking ship and get onto something that's flying. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. Like I said, I'd like to wait. If I had him, I'd definitely wait a week and then White. You know, who else are you playing in round 12? Keep that in mind. Cobo a must. Hey, is that you, Mitch? Um, no, he's not. Like I've looked at, like I've thought about it. He could go well. Like it's one of these where we don't have enough evidence really at fullback. He could play Origin. I don't think the Broncos don't play around 12 anyway, and he could just if Walsh isn't like Walsh is a good fullback, and he's a good fantasy fullback as well to some degree. He's not. I wouldn't put him in the top guns, but he averaged 50 last year. Like, he's good. Is Cobble going to come in and just all of a sudden smash it? Like, maybe, but you know, it's definitely a risky one. It's a fun one. I'm not struggling at that 460 price point that he's on my short list for better or for worse. So yeah, he's definitely not a must, but if you want him, wouldn't stop you. Roosters want to rest Walker for the year. There was a fight on 360 a few weeks ago, I think, when they were talking about that. If he was fit, would you risk him coming back in? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it might be good for Savala if they do, and we can hold him for the whole year. But even then, I think that's quite unlikely. So yeah, not sure. All right. I think again I've gone way over time, but hopefully hopefully the video is showing what I've been talking to, and I don't have to re-record this. So if you're seeing this, if you're hearing me say this, then it worked, and we're all good. So have a good week. Not as good as me, hopefully, and yeah, I'll see you next week.